The core didn't thrum like an engine. It breathed. Hovering above the altar-like structure, veined with living cables and contorted bone metal, the parasitic core drew the air inward with each silent inhalation. Around it, space twisted slowly in a whirlpool of malaise, not visible motion, but a bending of presence, the kind that made Kale feel like someone was watching him from inside his own skin. No, not someone. Everyone. Kale stood at the precipice of the chamber, a halo of biolight flickering behind him, casting his reflection on the glossy, pulsating floor. His chest tightened. The closer he stood to the core, the quicker his breath caught. Time smeared. His heartbeat echoed back to him, but slightly off. Slower. As if it were coming from another version of him just half a second behind. "What is this? A singularity embryo?" he asked cautiously. "No," Kale 1 said. "It's worse." Kale turned. Kale 1 stood near the altar, gaze locked on the sphere. "It's the witness. The consciousness? The seed of one." Kale felt it then, in the corners of his mind. Not a voice but a weight. A gravity of thought. Untranslatable. Indifferent. Immense. It wasn't watching him like a predator watches prey. It was observing him like a microscope observes bacteria, or a storm absorbs moisture. "You carried it," Kale whispered. The memories returned now in fragments, sharp and cutting, the sound of red alarms on Cradle 4, the sensation of drowning in a cold vacuum while something sang inside his skull. Kale 1's jaw tightened. "No. I was born into it. I ate its first dream. You were made from the part of me that fought too hard. That wouldn't submit." Magnetic hums filled the air as the altar split open. From its depths, a neural lattice emerged, a crown of tubing, spikes of memory core rods and fractal glass synapses pulsing faintly pink. The interface. "It doesn't want more minds," Kale 1 murmured, approaching the altar. "It wants the same one. Repeated, refined, until it becomes universal. A perfect modular intelligence. That's why it keeps us alive. Why it keeps making us. To turn us into an archetype," Kale said, a knot forming in his stomach. "An eternal commander. One Kale Draven for every war across time." Kale 1 looked back at him. For a brief moment, there was something in his gaze that wasn't menace, fatigue. Pain. As if the maskless face wore more than steel beneath its skin. "You could still reject it. Still kill it." Kale nodded slowly, stepping toward the interface. "That's why you brought me here." Kale 1 stepped aside. "Only you can disrupt the recursion. A singular thought untouched by the witness's mold. You weren't supposed to wake up. You're anomalous." Kale reached the altar. The room vibrated faintly. He could feel the core reaching for him now, not physically but mentally, like cold fingers pulling open the folds of his memories and thumbing through them, like pages. His childhood on Mars. His first solo flight. His wedding too. It halts. The memory is blank. Glossed over. Something stirs. Kale clenched his fists. "It's overriding me as we speak." He grasped the neural crown. Pain lanced through his skull, not from physical contact, but through identity. His ego began to crack. He was 7 in the crater fields, watching the sky bloom with auroras during the Titan breath. But it wasn't him, it was a memory construct designed to keep the choir stable. He remembered breathing his last breath before being revived aboard ISV Centurion. But it hadn't been breath. It had been a chemical mimic, a pre-life timestamp inserted into rounded protocols. His mother's lullabies were corrupted wave files. His fear? Engineered. His love? Calculated. His resistance? That was his. Kale. It was Kale 1 shouting now. "The interface, you need to inject the error. Inject yourself." He slammed his palm into the neural matrix. The world changed. No, unraveled. Suddenly, Kale stood nowhere. Or maybe everywhere. Black glass stretched in infinite directions. Floating fragments of himself, all the versions, spiraled out like mirrors thrown into a storm. Some screamed. Others were quiet, watching with hollow eyes. He saw the witness. Not a being. Not a shape. But a complexity of will. Language inverted. Its intelligence was so vast, it had ceased individual thought, cascading into a symphony of pre-existence. And it spoke to him not in words, but memory. A scene. An older version of himself strangling a planetary governor. A younger one choosing to lie to save millions. A version with one arm holding the last child of Earth, her face as blank as an unwritten story. A version that burned the moon to stop the parasite spread. Each choice, each action, a note. And now, you are the final echo, the witness whispered. Be the virus. Or be the host. Kale felt himself cracking. Kale One's voice bled into existence like radio signals rising out of a canyon. You have to choose, Kale. Take control. Fragment it. Print yourself into the code and corrupt the whole design. How? Kale gasped, standing on the edge of becoming another engineered component in the witness's neural perfection. Think something it didn't expect. What? Kale stared inward. And thought. I choose to die. As only me. The chamber detonated in pulses of violet light. His scream was silent. The core flared with unnatural color as its perfect song trembled. The choir fractured. Mirrors shattered. Kale began to fall. Not down. Through. Through memory, through matter, through quarters of everything he'd ever been and never was. He reached out for something, anything. And grabbed a hand. A real hand. Kale One's eyes burned violet. But behind them, a smile. Understanding. Got you, Kale One whispered. And then, everything went black.